Yes, hello guys. Today I just want to kind of go through a little bit of um, configuration here. This is just mainly based on just a configuration to show us exactly how SSL works with Pgbouncer. And I kind of really see it, find it really interesting and kind of really cool the way it manages, the way it handles SSL, encrypting our connections. So when you look at the Pgbouncer here, you see that the connection from the application can actually be encrypted, using a certificate here between the application and Pgbouncer, right? So you see that from the client or maybe the application to Pgbouncer, this can actually be encrypted. And also we could also see as well that from Pgbouncer to the database, we could also encrypt this as well. So basically, you could have two separate types, two separate certificates, and then you can use one at the back end and you use one at the front end. And this is just kind of what we're going to be doing today, just to show how you can use certificate, and then you can get uh, um, uh, Pgbouncer to use that. So we are going to be generating two separate types of certificates, and then we're going to be using that at the front end and also at the back end. Now, one thing you have to note here is that if you look at the database at the back end here, we're going to generate certificates at the database backend. And whenever you generate a certificate, basically you have client certificate and you have server certificates, right? So you're going to have a server certificate, which we're going to use for Postgres, and Postgres at the same time, which is a server, the client will be Pgbouncer here. Okay, so the client certificate that we're going to generate from Postgres, those client certificates will be used by Pgbouncer to connect to Postgres here. And then the same thing here, we're going to generate also certificates here in Pgbouncer, where we're going to have server certificate and the client certificate. And in this case here, the client certificate of the Pgbouncer is going to be used by the application. Okay, so we're going to see exactly how this works and how we can go ahead to configure that. All right, so this was just kind of a one slide something. No, I didn't prepare any slides. So most importantly, let's just jump into the configuration at once. All right. So I have two servers. I have basically three servers here. As you could see here, I have the primary node here, and I have the Pgbouncer, this is the Pgbouncer node, and I have a client, and they consider this to be my application here. It can be my app, okay? So we're going to see exactly. These are just plain servers, nothing installed there yet. So we're just going to hop in right away and install Postgres, and then go into just hop into that. Okay, so I'm just going to say installing Postgres. It's very easy, so I'm just going to quickly get Postgres installed here. I'm using version 7. I'm just going to leave Postgres 14, and I'm just going to grab this first line here, and I'm just going to run this on all the nodes. Okay, and again, for this demo here, the primary server, or my primary server here, will be the only one running the database. Okay, so I'm not going to have the database running on the client or on the Pgbouncer node. So basically, I'm just installing that so that we can have the binaries there. Okay. So next, I'm going to install Postgres. Yeah, and this is just, I'm just going to run this on all the nodes so that we can have the binaries. Okay, for Postgres install, for Postgres should, in case we want to run PSQL, we could have it. But I'm going to initialize the database only on the master server. Okay, so here, since I'm only initializing, I can copy only this one, and this should run only on the master alone. So that's it. All right, so I can close this multi-view here, and then I'm back here on my primary node. So let me just clear the screen here. And on my primary node, I'm just going to paste this, which initializes, enables, and starts Postgres. Okay, so that should be pretty quick. And then Postgres is started, all right? So you could see here that we have Postgres running in minutes. Okay, it's up and running. But we're still going to do some configurations there, and then we see exactly what to do. Okay. Okay, let's hop in now. So the first thing is we're going to generate self-signed certificates, okay, for on the primary node. All right. And I also went ahead to set, let me see if I set the host names here. Credit, card, let me just VI so that in case I don't have the host setting. Okay, looks like I didn't have it here. I'm just going to copy this guy. Okay, so just gonna paste it. Yeah, let's paste both of them. Okay, so I have the host files looking good on all the nodes. That's fine. Oops. Let's close this, and I'm going to save this. Okay, so that's that. So let's jump in now on the configuration. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to generate certificate on the database server, which is this guy here on our primary node. All right, we're going to generate certificates. So there are a couple of commands we're going to be running. Okay, this command here, I'm just going to run that to get the server key. I'm going to put in, and I'm going to provide all these commands to you so that if you want to just create your own self-signed certificate, you can go ahead and do that. And then you want to make sure that your password that you're putting, make sure it's all correct, so that you don't run into issues at the end of the day. So I'm going to give some permissions for that server key. And okay, I'm going to send that to generate the set. I'm going to say US D locality. I'm just going to say green belt. Fine. Company name. Just going to use Benson Limited. And again, these are just my own information I'm passing for my key for my certificate here. So if you have to use yours, you might use maybe company certificates. You might not be using the self-signed certificate like what I'm doing here, but this is just for them, okay? So here it's asking you for the server name. So here we're going to use our database host name, all right? So let me just quickly see what my database host. Anyway, this is the primary server. So could just pick it from here. This is our primary server. Okay, hit enter. I'm just going to give the address here. And these are all information that if you know you're creating your certificate, you will have to provide. And sometimes you could pass this on the configuration file, but just doing this manually. Then I'm going to make a copy of the root certificate from the server certs. Okay. And then, okay, it's where I'll start creating some of the client certificates. I'm just going to store them on the /tmp location there. I'm going to provide. Yeah, so I have that. Okay, let me just clear the screen a little bit. Then next thing also, I'm going to generate the same client. client certificate, using that to pass as a key. Okay. Hidden. Going to sign those client certificates. Okay. We're just going to use the same code that I put here. About company organization, environment tag, and then usually when I'm creating this certificate here, I'm not just going to put the server name anymore. I'm just going to put the name of the user that I'm going to be using to connect. Here, I'm just going to say Benson, but I'm going to create this user. Okay. Challenge password. If you want, some of these fields are optional. Optional company name. I don't really want that. It's optional. You can just leave that. Okay. And then next thing you want to sign. Okay. Should always make sure that this particular command shows you okay. Okay, so we've generated those keys. We've actually generated a server key. If we list this location, we're going to see these are our server certificates. We have server cert, we have the server key, we have the root certificate. These are very important, right? The root certificate, the server cert, and that server key. For the client certificate, remember we place them under /TMP. We'll come back to that, okay? So we have two set of sets here, right? The server set and the client set generated on the primary node. The next thing is we're going to go to the Pgbouncer node, and we're also going to generate certificates there as well. Remember, we had to do two certs as I explained in the diagram earlier on. So it's just going to almost be the same commands you have to run to create those certs. But again, you have to note that anyway, even though they are the same, but those certificates are not actually the same. Oops. The certificates are not actually the same because they're going to use different hosts. Remember, the database side, it used the database host. So here for this one, it's going to use the Pgbouncer host. So those certificates are not actually the same. Okay, so I'm just going to create that. Basically the same commands I ran earlier on. Try to make it a little bit faster. I thought I ran this already, maybe. Oh, what's going on? Okay, that's fine. So I'm gonna run this. About company organization. Okay, so I'm going to use the name of I'm going to put the host name for the Pgbouncer host. So here, so note that this certificate, even though we're using the same commands, are not the same because they're using different hosts. Okay. So definitely those are different sets. Okay. So I'm going to put name. That's that. And then I'm going to also create a root that from the server one. And okay, creating those client sets. We're going to store them still on the same location, but those are two separate servers. So, okay. All right, you're almost done with that one. Then we have the last one here, which we have to do same. And again, for some of you who already have the cert, well, no, you don't have to go through all this, all this creation of cert here. So here, I'm still also going to specify, okay, this is specified. We're going to use the same thing. Okay. Then I'm just going to specify Benson as well because I'm just going to use the same user. Okay. I'm going to use the same user. Challenge password. Optional. I'm not going to put anything there. Okay. So the last command here now. I have to paste this. Okay, everything looks good. Okay, so that is what we have done. We have created the server cert and the root cert here, and also the same thing on the database side. Okay, we've done the same thing on both sides. All right. So what we're going to do now is that we are going to let's hop back to the database side here. So database side, these certificates we have created here, we're going to move these certificates to the data directory. Okay. Remember, with Postgres, we have our data directory already in Postgres. Okay. We have our data directory already in Postgres, which is in the okay, it looks like I've not installed Pgbouncer. So on my Pgbouncer host here, I'm just going to do yum install Pgbouncer. Okay, and I'm not going to specify any version of Pgbouncer so that it's going to pick me. It's going to just check for the recent version, which is 117 as of this time. So I'm just going to install that. I'm installing it only on the Pgbouncer host. All right. Okay, so my Pgbouncer installation is done. So let's come back to the primary server here. So if we look here on the primary server, we have our data directory, which is Valley PGSQL 14 data. All right, this is where we have our data directory. All right, okay. But what I want to do is I'm going to create a location here. Okay. So I'm just going to create a location in the data directory where I can store those certificates. Okay. So my server certificates. All right. So this is what I've done. I've created this location here called DB server cert. And you see, it's actually on the data directory. So I'm going to store those certificates there. All right. So now, right here, with this certificate I have here, I'm going to copy these certificates to this location. Okay. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do CP, and I'm going to copy the server cert. I'm also going to copy the server key, and I'm also going to copy the root cert. All right. And I'm going to send it to this location. Okay. So that's that. So I have them there. So if I list that location, okay, so I should be able to see those certs there, which is fine. Okay, so once you have those certs there, it's good. You have to make that location to be owned by Postgres. Okay, that location needs to be owned by Postgres. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do we're going to do Postgres, column Postgres. If you want to put a dot, that's fine. And you specify this. I'm just going to make sure that anything inside that directory also is owned by Postgres. So you could see now that everything has changed to Postgres, not root anymore. Okay, so you need to make sure that it's switched to Postgres. So okay, so that's what we got. We have successfully moved our search over there. So the next thing we're going to do here is that we will need to edit the postgresql.com file, and we will have to modify those certificates, okay, inside the postgresql.com file. All right. But another thing we could also do before that. Okay, I think let's just go ahead and modify that first, and then we'll come back and revisit that one. So let me just log in as user Postgres, and I can decide to cd to data directory here. Then I'm going to vi postgresql.com file, and I'm going to search for SSL. So I'm going to turn all of this on. Okay, and this is where I'm going to make sure that you uncomment all those lines which you have to use. Okay, and comment this one. Okay. Okay. So here I'm going to turn this guy on. And where I kept my search, very important. Let me save this, and this location. This is where I have all my search. Let me open it back, and you search for SSL, and then you have to specify the location where, oops, then press insert. So I need to specify the location where I have my root set. Here, so it's going to be my root right here, and then my I'm just going to leave it there since the name is the same, but I'm going to make sure that I have it in that location. And then my server key, the same thing. I'm going to make sure I have it in that location too as well. Okay. Okay. So now I think that's mainly that for those first there. So let's see if there's some parameters we need to change here. Okay, listing addresses. I think we need to okay. I think I'm just going to leave the rest like that for now. I'm going to save that. Okay, so that's good. So we can decide to restart our server. All right. So again, you have to make sure that everything is taking effect. So we're just going to restart the server. So we're going to run systemctl restart postgresql 14. that has been restarted. Let's make sure that it's back up. Okay, it looks to be running. So check. Okay, let's do show SSL. Okay, SSL on. You know, we could also do so SSL CFR just to make sure that, you know, everything is SSL CFR. Okay, so we see them taking effect, which is perfectly nice. Okay, one other thing which we want to do here is to, let me see the back to data directory, and I'm going to VI the pghba conf file, pghba conf. Okay, this is a local connection. First, I'm going to make sure that all my external connections are using SSL. So I'm going to say host SSL, so that make sure it's make sure that it's using host SSL. I'm just going to leave it for now to all, and then all users, and then I'm just going to allow the connection from everywhere. Okay, this is just a demo, but you won't have this. And here I'm going to put cert. Okay, and again, just to make sure that everybody knows, you really make sure that, because this is fully SSL, this is what let me just comment out this line so that you will really know that, okay, this connection is using SSL. Okay, so this is a local connection, which I don't really care about this. And leave that to trust, but it's going to be using this one because we're going to be doing remote connections. Okay, so you can go ahead and save this guy, and we have to reload. If I run pgctl reload, oh, no binaries. So let me see, pgctl bin, put this guy, export path. Okay, that's fine. Okay, everything looking fine now. Sometimes when I do this setup, I always like to do a restart. And the reason is it's just me, because sometimes I realize that when we do a restart and there's a misconfiguration somewhere, the server might not start. But a reload won't really tell you. But anyway, this is just double checking, just making sure that everything is set up correctly. Okay. Okay, so I think we just kind of finish up with this one, with the master server. Everything looking okay there. One more thing. Let me connect to the data. Let me connect here, and I'm gonna create user Benson. I'm just gonna make it with super user. And again, in your environment, you will not just do like super user. You have to give appropriate privileges. And I'm just doing very simple password there. Okay, I've created that, and I can exit. Sometimes just want to make sure that you can connect as that user. User Benson. Okay, it says what? Database Benson does not exist. Okay, you want me to specify database. All right. Oops. -D. Okay. I'm going to create a database. Let me just call it ProdDB. Okay. So I might use this ProdDB for connection next time. So that's fine. Okay, let's come over to Pgbouncer. So this is our Pgbouncer server here. And the installation of Pgbouncer went well. Okay, let me clear this. Let me see if I can increase the font size so you guys can see. Okay, so when you install Pgbouncer, it actually installed on this path/etc/pgbouncer. You see it to this location, you're going to see some Pgbouncer file. Now, we're not going to really use all these Python scripts. Some of them, it's just to encrypt the password for the users, but we're not going to go through that process here. We're mostly concerned on server certificates here. So this is the main file for Pgbouncer here. But again, remember that I already created certificates here, and those are the certificates that I have here. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to create a location here where I'll move the server certificate for Pgbouncer. All right, remember that for the database, we move the server certificate to the data directory, create a location. And for Pgbouncer, I'm going to move the server certificates to the Pgbouncer location and create a location there and just move it in there. All right, that might be just easy, So I can just go ahead and create this location. So I've created a location here where Pgbouncer is installed. So I just created a location here, client set. Now, these DB client sets, these are certificates. Remember that for the database here, I've only used the server set. I've not used the client set yet. I just use only the server set, and that is what I put in the data directory, and I edited the PostgreSQL conf file. Now for the client set that I generated on the database, I'm going to move those client sets to the Pgbouncer server, because the Pgbouncer is gonna act like a client for the database. Okay, so I'm going to move those client sets instead over to Pgbouncer. So this location is just to store those DB client sets here. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this IP here. First name -r. Okay. So I'm going to copy those client sets from here. I'm just going to be as root. So I'm going to do SCP because I need those client sets. And remember, I know that those client sets are over here. So it's going to be, I'm going to copy PostgreSQL cert CRT. And I'm also going to copy PostgreSQL, the key. Okay. I can decide to even remove all of them, even though not really even going to use this one, but I'm just going to copy all of that. And then I'm going to also move the root set as well. And where am I going to send it? I'm going to connect as root to this server, this one here. I'm going to connect there. And where am I going to put it? I'm going to put it in this location I just created. Okay. So I'm going to put it here. So enter. Right. Okay, good. So I successfully moved those client sets to the Pgbouncer, the Pgbouncer server. So we could see that the sets are all there. And this is the location we created, DB set. So if you see there, our sets are all in there. So that's the first thing we've done here on the Pgbouncer server. Okay, let me clear the screen a little bit. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do here is that since we've moved those certs over here, we also need to create another location where we need to move the server sets. Okay, let me go back one step. So these are the client sets coming from the database. Okay, then the server certificates that are here, we need to put them somewhere here too as well. Okay, I mean these server sets that are on the Pgbouncer side. So I'm just going to create a location here called Pgbouncer server set, right? In that location, then I'm going to move those certificates over to that location, right? So I'm going to copy the server set. I'm going to copy server key, and I'm going to also copy the root. Okay, the root set as well, and I'm going to send it here. Okay, so that's done. You could see that the sets are there. And when you copy them like this, guys, it's always good to make sure that you delete the old copy so that you don't leave your certificates there. You can somebody can just copy that and make use of those sets. Okay, all right. So the next thing which we're going to do here now is that we have to edit the Pgbouncer configuration file. Okay, we have to edit the Pgbouncer configuration file, and the Pgbouncer configuration file. This is where you need to be careful exactly which cert you're using where. Okay, which cert you're using where is very, very important. Okay, because the Pgbouncer configuration file, etc Pgbouncer. So if I vi this Pgbouncer.ini file, there's a lot of stuff inside here. But what we're going to do first is that these client certificates that we took from the database side, we're going to place this client certificate in the server parameters of Pgbouncer. Okay, this client certificate that we pulled from the database, we're going to place it in the server. And again, let me just cd into this. Okay, so I just want to pick this location here. Okay, these are all my sets here. And these are the client sets. All right. So what we're going to do is that let me vi my file, pgbouncer.ini, and then I'm going to look for server, okay, server TLS. So server TLS. First, I'm going to uncomment. Make sure you always uncomment here, and then I'm going to specify this to be verified full, so that it makes use of our server set and does a full verification of them all. The next thing I'm going to specify the CA file, okay, which is my root certificate. I'm going to uncomment this. And note, I'm pressing those sets on the server parameters here. So here, I'm going to specify the location of my root. I know that it's actually in that location. And then the CA file, I'm just going to paste the same location here. And this is that was my, okay, this is a key, sorry. So this is going to be the PostgreSQL key. PostgreSQL.key. Remember those files there. And then this is the third, which is going to be the PostgreSQL set. I'm just going to paste it. PostgreSQL.rct. And please make sure you uncomment this. Okay, very important. These are the 4 main parameters you need to pass: the server TLS, CA file, the key, the cert. Very important. There are other parameters, but those are the main key ones. You could decide to use some of them, but make sure those four, you set them well. Okay. All right. So after setting these parameters, let me see. I think there. Okay, this is somewhere the auth type here. You need to set this to cert. Very important. Okay, because we're going to be using certificate here. We're just going to be doing a normal authentication here. Let me just put Benson here, and let me just put Benson here. So fine. I'm not going to use the auth query, and some of you know exactly what auth query means. It's just that we don't want to use the user list file. We don't want to line up all the users inside a user list file. You just want to have a single user there, and that will be the user that will connect to the database and query the PG shadow table to pull out, and verify the password of those users. Okay, but we're not going to use that. We're just going to do a test here, and we're going to have a single user inside the user list file, and we should be good to go. All right. Now, the next parameter we have to place, let me just save this. And let me go back one step here. The next one is this server, the Pgbouncer server set. Now, this Pgbouncer server set that we have here, we are going to put them in the client. In the client parameter, the client TLS of Pgbouncer, because Pgbouncer here is also serving as a client. Okay, so please don't mix that up. If you remove the certificate, the server certificate here, and put it instead for the server on Pgbouncer here, it will not work. Okay, so be very, very careful how you place them. So let's look at this cert here. These are the server certificates that we generated on this particular server on the Pgbouncer. So we're going to vi the Pgbouncer.ini file, and we are going to search for client TLS. Okay, so we're going to place that under the client TLS. All right. So we're going to place that under the client TLS. Very important. Okay. I'm not sure I copied that path. Let me see. Let me copy this path so that I'm going to use that. So searching for client TLS. Okay. Command this. I'm also going to play this with verify full. Verify full. And then I'm going to specify my root search. I'm going to paste that location. Give me my root.crt. And then I'm going to specify my server key. Server.key. I'm also going to specify my search. Server.search. Okay. I'm going to make sure I uncomment all of this. Very important. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right? Very important. So those 4, you need to make sure you have them set appropriately. If not, you might really run into some serious issues. Okay. So at this point, we have the main configurations that we have. But first, we will need to edit, parameters, which is just basically a connection to the database. So here we will have to, you can put it underneath here. So the database I created is ProdDB. I'm just going to use that one. It's going to be ProdDB, and then I'm going to specify the host, and my host is what? Primary node. And please make sure that the host you're specifying here as primary node is what you actually have it inside the certificate. Remember when we're creating the certificate for the database, we use that, because if you don't use that, you also run into some issues. 544. So I think I'll just leave this for now. That is kind of the main things there. Okay. All right. So actually here now we have everything that we need. Okay. One more thing here. Listing address. Make sure you have this to start. Okay. I think there's nothing more to have here again. So remember, only on this part, only on this file here, we have specified the client certs, and those client certs that we specified here are actually the server certs that we generated on the Pgbouncer. And then on the server cert parameter inside Pgbouncer, we specify the client cert that we copied from the database side. Okay. Right. I hope it doesn't not confused about that. Okay, then we have one last thing. Remember that we also have the only certs that we have not used yet, right? Are the certs, are the client certs that we generated on Pgbouncer. Okay, we generated client certs on the Pgbouncer. So the client cert we generated on Pgbouncer, those certs will have to be moved to the application, right? Or it has to be moved to the application, or in this case, it's going to be our client server. Okay, so we have to move those certs there. So over here on our server here, let me see, there's nothing in here. /root. Okay, so what I can basically do here is just to create a location, and I will just move those certs there. Okay, so okay, so I'll just do include your add, and then I will just create a location underneath here called Pgbouncer client cert. And now I'm going to copy those certs from over here. Okay, let me just clear the screen a little bit. So the certs are here. I know that for this one, the certs are in the, I'm gonna do the TMP. And then I'm gonna be, I'm gonna copy that one too. Copy the key. And I'm just gonna copy all of them. Okay. I'm not sure I'm on the location where, let me not run this. Let me not run this. Let me be in the location where I have this, because I need to copy this root key as well. Then I need to copy the root. But where am I going to send it? I'm going to send it in this location that I just, oh, so this is going to be a SCP. So let me uncomment this guy. So this is going to be SCP, and then I'm going to specify root and the IP of my application. which is this guy. Paste it here. And where is it going to go to? It's going to go here. I'm going to move it here. So, yes. Okay, good. So I have the thread copied across there. So now I've made use of all my threads, right? The server set and the client set are copied here. And also the server set and the client set I have created here. I've already made use of those ones. We're kind of almost done here. So the main thing we are going to do now is we are going to attempt to start Pgbouncer. And before we do that, looks like there's something we're missing. Let me see. Let me go to Pgbouncer. Looks like we haven't created the, yeah, we haven't created the user list. The user list.txt file. So it's going to VI that file. I'm going to come over to Postgres here, and I'm going to grab the IP address of that user. I'm going to grab the password of that user. Okay, so I'm going to run, let me describe that view, pg shadow, and see. So I'm going to select username, comma, FWD from pg shadow. If you're not an admin, you won't be able to see this. Okay, this is what's happening here. It's because this Postgres is actually using Scrum shell, so it's basically using this. You can use this, or as well as I've seen people who just degrade to MD5 to use that because Pgbouncer will not. Pgbouncer does not support Scrum shell, it supports search. Okay, and it does that because of this password encryption, right? If you look at password encryption, it's set to MD Scrum shell. You can't put it to MD5 even though you're just downgrading security and all of that. You can, since you're using cert, you can still use MD5, which is fine. So in this case, I'm not going to use Scrum shell here. What I'm just going to do is just to put the actual user password inside. Oh, so it's just going to be Benson. And this is not recommended, okay? You have to encrypt that. This is just for testing. So I'm going to save that. All right, let's go ahead and try to start it. If we get some errors, we'll start fixing them one by one and seeing exactly where we reach at. So first, let's try to start on Pgbouncer here. So I'm going to run system here. I know that maybe sometimes it might ask you, it might ask you to, okay, it fails. So first, we're going to fix the errors little by little. Log, Pgbouncer. Okay, we have a log file here. So what does a log file tell us to do? We're going to be fixing that. I know there are going to be some permission issues, permission denied. We're going to fix. TLS error fail to load private key. Okay, permission denied. This is one thing. Let's see here. So it says permission denied here. All right, so let's fix this one. So if we look over here, let's copy this location and then list. So it's talking about server key permission denied. Look at server key here. It has only 600. So let's put it to 644. Okay, let's put this to 644 of this. Okay, so 644. Let's try to start again. If it complains about another, then let's see that. Okay, let's check the status. Okay, it seems to be happy now. Okay, so you need to make sure that Pgbouncer is up and running. Very, very important. Okay, so the Pgbouncer up and running. What next? What we can do is let's attempt to test our connection. Okay, let's attempt to test our connection from the client. Okay, from the client over here. So if we run PSQL here, there's no PSQL, but we know we installed it, so we just need to export the batch profile. Okay. If we do which PSQL, we see where it is. I'm not sure that's the one. Yes, PGSQL14 being okay. So what do we have? We have our keys in here. Okay. We have the keys in here. We're going to test that. So how do we run that? So first thing, since we are already where we have our keys, what we can do is we can run PSQL. Let me see if I can, if I have something we can work on. Okay. So it's kind of pretty long. So I'm doing PSQL, I'm connected primary, no, I have to change this. It's not the primary node, I'm connecting to the Pgbouncer node. Okay, so I'm connecting to Pgbouncer node. And then from Pgbouncer, the connection goes over. So connect to Pgbouncer, Pgbouncer 6432. I'm connecting to ProdDB as a user Benson. I'm using Verify4, and I'm specifying my certs. This is where I have my cert here. This is the location of my, the PostgreSQL cert, and then I'm specifying the location of my PostgreSQL key, and I'm also specifying the root, right? So let's attempt this to see. Okay. We have another error too as well. Exciting. Okay, so it says that this particular key here has a group for wall access, which must be 600. Okay, so let's fix that. So it's talking about, let's list this location and see. Okay, it's talking about the PostgreSQL key, which is this guy. We want this guy to be 600. So let's go ahead and change that. So 600 PostgreSQL key. So that is changed. That's looking okay. So let's attempt again. Okay. Looks like something is getting tied up somewhere. We're gonna figure it out. Okay. All right. It's delaying. Let's just kill that connection. Okay. So what do we do next? Let's check the logs. Let's tell first Pgbouncer logs. And there's something is telling us here, TLS handshake failed end of file, attempt. Okay. There don't seem to be a proper handshake over there. Closing because failed. Client login timeout. Okay, warning. The handshake does not seem to work fine. There's an issue somewhere. Okay, so what we're seeing here is that these files okay, let me see. Let me see what we are missing here. What we're missing here. We have to search here. Let me just specify the actual location so that I can see them well. But that should not be the case. Okay. Let me see. Pgbouncer node. Pgbouncer node. Connecting on port 5432 port DB. Verify full. So let's see. This is weird. Yeah. Oh, no. Something is going on. It's trying to use 44544. This is not correct. Let's close this. Where's that coming from? Okay. Let's fix something over here. Okay. MVI. And that file. Oh, look at the IP port I put here. Oh no. This is 5432. 5432. Yeah. So the database is listening on port 5432, right? If we come over here and we do like show port, okay, it's listening on 5432. So that's why I couldn't perform a handshake. Okay, let's save this now. Okay, let's see. I'm just gonna restart this guy. Make sure it's happy, running. Okay, let me come over here now. Clear up it and turn our connection again. You see? Okay, that works perfectly fine. So this is exactly what is happening here, as what I explained earlier on, is the connection you see here. Let me see if I can pull up. The connection you see here is happening like this. So what is happening is that we generated two certificates here. We moved one of the client sets over here, right? And we also generated two here, okay? And we configured it, right? And move one of the sets here direct to the server. So again, this is how it works. We generated 2 certificates here. We use one to configure PostgreSQL here, and one was moved across to Pgbouncer. And then over in Pgbouncer, we also generated 2. We use one to configure Pgbouncer and one to move one over here. So what is happening now is that this guy is a client to Pgbouncer, and Pgbouncer is a client to Postgres. So the verification is actually going through this set. So there is a verification between the application and Pgbouncer, and then also, because note very well here that the application here can be the user or the application user. The application user has an encrypted connection because the application user connects to Pgbouncer, not directly to Postgres, connects to Pgbouncer, and then Pgbouncer opens a connection to the database. Okay, so that's why we see that the application user connection is encrypted to Pgbouncer, and also at the back end from Pgbouncer database is encrypted. Okay, that's why we see here that our connection, when we run PSQL, we are connecting to Pgbouncer. Okay, we are not connected directly to Postgres, and then we are providing all these server sets here, you know, and then and all of that. So again, if you don't want to pass all these certificates like this, you could export them, right? Like variables, you know, and you run it. You just run PSQL alone and you export that variable, and that should be able to work fine. Okay. So this is just the configuration I wanted to show you here, how you can be able to use these certificates with Pgbouncer and how you can terminate them at the front end and at the back end. All right. I hope this was informative, and thank you. Right. Okay. See you.